GWATA TV gives you a first look at North Central Washington's business news. You'll hear from our local business, tech, and education companies as Jenny discusses hot topics and current events with some of the best innovators and pioneers in North Central Washington.
Hello, North Central Washington. Welcome to GWATA TV. I'm your host, Jenny Rojanasatian, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. On today's episode of GWATA TV, we're going to be talking about spirits, Blue Spirits to be exact. I'll be interviewing Jeff Soehren, who is our 2019 Entrepreneur of the Year because he founded the company Blue Spirits, which is a distilling company based in North Central Washington. So stay tuned, it's going to be a great episode. Welcome back to GWATA TV. We are on air with Jeff Soehren of Blue Spirits. Welcome to GWATA TV.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's so exciting to have you on air. Jeff is our 2019 Entrepreneur of the Year award winner, so congratulations.
Thank you. We're very honored. Very honored.
Yes, and we're going to talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial story in this part of the segment. But before we came on air, you told me you also had some experience with broadcast. So
Yes.
What haven't you done, Jeff?
I've had an interesting career, and I was thinking about probably more lucky than good when it comes to opportunity. Back in 1978, one of the projects my company was working on was King Broadcasting, and got the opportunity to work with the founders, the first women in broadcast in Seattle. We basically took their first facility and built an entire building around it while they kept on air.
Wow.
So we had to keep news on air, everything on air, so we built this building around it.
I imagine that's hard for a construction.
It was. There was one news broadcast where the backhoe actually came down the hill and went through the wall.
No.
So we interrupted news at one point.
That would have gone social media viral had social media,
If we had
right.
social media at the time, it would have been great.
You're
But
right.
it was, we just keep on going.
Go on, right.
So,
Show must go on.
show must go on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have a background in architecture. You're architect. That was your first career.
Right.
What did that look like?
Well, when I first moved out to Seattle from the Midwest, I started working for a company in Renton that did design build, and the first project I got thrown on was a Boeing plant expansion up in Everett. And it was rather interesting because here you are in Seattle with a stalwart company that builds airplanes, and here we're building a building that will now build airplanes. And the interesting part about it is that it was a 767 plant expansion, and as later in my career when I was traveling around the globe, I was actually flying on 767s to get to the different destinations. So it was kind of like a bridge to the future.
Right.
So, and then it just evolved from there. I was able to kind of move from that company to another, and that company was, we had a specialty in high-tech broadcast and high-rise buildings. And so we were introduced to a normal, or a large contingent of people in what was then the start of technology in the Seattle area. I mean, everyone thought, what's software? What is software? What's fiber? Other than breakfast cereal. And we didn't really know, so we evolved with that. I look around what you have here in this broadcast studio, and it's extremely advanced what we use in terms of what we used to put into broadcast.
Yeah.
So, and then it just evolved from there.
And you were involved with some of the Microsoft development as well?
Yeah, we started with, our company started with buildings 1 through 8, which they've now torn down. I'm old enough to now see the buildings go away, which is sad.
Yeah.
They're being replaced by some of the newer generation campus-style buildings. The last building I did there was obviously for Microsoft Studios, building 148. And so it's still a very vital part of their social network in terms of getting production done and out to the world.
Right.
So.
And you got to see that technology growth, obviously, because you're seeing the software companies develop as you're building more and more buildings for them.
Well, the interesting part is that when Microsoft started, they basically produced software, and then the internet came along, and then the internet sort of passed them by. And this was in the 90s, early 90s, and they realized they had to move their product line to the internet and created the Microsoft network. That was the vehicle to get them to the internet. The problem is the internet really didn't exist. They weren't linked with fiber, they weren't linked with connectivity like they have today. So we created these nodes out there and then connect them up with fiber networks so that they could propagate content or store content out on the global web. And we were still using the dial-up modems to communicate as we were in England, Australia, Canada, and so it was sort of very low tech.
Right.
But then evolved into what we have today.
Right.
So,
well, I think it's fascinating that you were in this high-tech world, you had a very successful career in the Seattle area, and now you're in a completely different field in this entrepreneurial journey.
Right.
Also very successful at that, so which we'll get into. But how did you decide that you were done in building in Seattle and that you wanted to come over to North Central Washington?
well, we moved over here. We've been over here 37 years on and off. We had a summer home over here. Actually came over here because my company was working on this resort called Wapato Point. We did all the buildings on Wapato Point during the early days, and so we came over here to do construction administration and stuff like that, and discovered the lake, discovered Eastern Washington, a whole nother segment of the state. And so then we sort of gravitated here and made it our home about 2000. And then I commuted back to Seattle to finish up the last project I did there for Seattle Art Museum. And it was interesting. I flew into SeaTac the other night, 2 o'clock in the morning from New York, and waiting for my bags. And on the screen was a little videotape of the Seattle Art Museum. So it was like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. Yes.
And so that was my last major project, $495 million that a team of us had managed. And the team was basically people that we had relationships with in the prior 10, 15 years. So we were all a very seasoned, very friendly team. We knew each other, and it was one of those great projects to sort of stop your career on.
Yeah.
You're at the high point, and it's like, okay, I need something different.
A legacy project.
A legacy project,
right.
Yeah. And so that's what intersected with the new law change that allowed craft distillers to exist in the state. And so not knowing anything about it, it just sounded interesting. Did a lot of research on it for a couple of years, and then slowly evolved into Blue Spirits. It was the entrepreneur side of me said, okay, I want to do something that's manufacturing, that you can get longevity on, that you can make something. I've been a consultant for 40 years, and you want to make something, at some point. And so that seemed to fit all of the different criteria for the second generation of career for me. And that's grown from my wife and I to the family to now 17 employees. Yeah. We just moved to our new facility in Cashmere. And so if we want to do a tour with anybody out there, we're more than happy to do that.
So let's go to that heart, the laws change on distilling. You're retiring from your career there, and you're in Chelan.
Yep.
With your family. What year was this?
This was in 2000.
Okay, in 2000, kind of looking at it. And then when did you...
It started in 2000, and then 2006 is when I finished up over in Seattle. Yeah. And then 2008 is when the craft law changed. Okay. And then between 2008 2010 was researching this, and then licensed in 2010 as a distiller. Okay. And then opened, it was interesting because here's where things intersect in life. We got a commission, my wife's an interior designer, I'm an architect, we got a commission over at Wapato Point to help a gentleman remodel a house, who's now the CEO of Costco. And so Costco funded the privatization initiative 1183. So it was sort of coming back there. The two things intersected again at Wapato Point in Eastern Washington. And then 1100 or 1183 finally passed and then became law on June 1st of 12 is when we launched our first product in the marketplace as private privatization hit at that point in time. Privatization of liquor sales in the state was a game changer for anybody involved in distilling. We could now distill, we could market, we could sell, we could distribute without state intervention.
And as you said, you first went to market 2012, but this is years in the making for Blue Spirits.
Yeah. At 2012, we'd probably been 4 years in planning at that point.
Okay.
It starts off small and then it grows. Everything does that, and then and there was that defining moment where, okay, we're going to step in and make this happen.
So we're going to go deeper into the Blue Spirits story, but first we do have to head out to a commercial break. So please stay tuned. We'll be back in just a minute to go deeper into the Blue Spirits story.
Excellent.
Welcome back to GWATA TV. We are on air today with Jeff Soehren. We've been talking about his entrepreneurial story and the forming of Blue Spirits Distilling. Jeff, we were just getting into kind of the change in laws, the launch of Blue Spirits in 2012, and you've already kind of laid the foundation for where you are now. But walk me through 2012. The first 5 years, what was that like?
So in 2012, we actually did our tasting at our garage facility on Minneapolis Beach in Chelan.
Like a true entrepreneur.
Yeah. We just moved out of that facility into Cashmere the other day, and we've done probably out of 800 square feet, close to $9 million worth of business.
Wow, that's incredible.
And the first tasting, I remember, we actually wheeled a barrel out to the sidewalk in front of her, and we had our spirits there, and people somehow found us, and we would taste spirits. And
we haven't talked much about your spirits. You have a line of unique spirits.
Right. We have we bottle in our line right now 13 different products.
Okay. Oh, and now we have some of those on screen. See? Okay.
And we're about to launch a new brand toward the end of this year, more of a global brand that'll have 9 products in it. And so when we started, we only had 5, and grew from there into different categories. And the whole concept was build a bar. People would like to come in and have spirits that they could take home and build cocktails and build a bar based on that.
Right.
And that sort of has been the growth model. And I think the big change for us came in 2014. I was working from, I'm going to say, 2009 to 2014, in addition to putting the business together. I was working with a lot of the school districts around here to help develop community outreach programs to pass bonds to build schools. And one of my clients was Cascade School District over in Leavenworth. And I would go to the board meetings on Monday night, and I would leave there about 8:39, and I would be amazed at how many people were still in town. It was a very vibrant town.
Right.
And so a new building was being built, so we took space in that started our first tasting room there, and that's catapulted us into a much larger venue for our build-a-bar, tasting our cocktails. The only problem is that under law at that point, we couldn't taste the spirits as a cocktail. We could only taste them as ice and water and a spirit, which nobody really likes to do.
Right.
So we got together with our attorneys and actually wrote new law that allowed us to taste spirits in a mixed drink situation, first time in history. And so now we can serve little mini cocktails as part of our sales process, and that allowed the business to grow even more. And so what it is, it's all about being creative with what the restrictions are and saying, okay, I don't want to be here, I want to be here, so how do you get from here to there? So we sat down and said, okay, let's write the law to get through liquor control to allow us to serve drinks, as opposed to saying, okay, we can't do that, can't grow.
Right, you have to advocate for yourself.
You have to be an advocate for yourself.
And really push your business and find solutions, right?
Exactly.
That's what you were after.
And when we were doing work for Microsoft around the globe, we came up with this phrase, the answer's out there somewhere. Okay, so you go, okay, we don't know how we're doing. We're on the edge of science at that point, and so it's like, okay, we need to get from here to there. The answer's out there, so how are we going to find it? Where are we going to get, so you build a solution, you build a bridge to that. And I think that's the essence of entrepreneurialism, is that you have faith in yourself, you know where you're going, you put the two together, and you figure out how to get there. And sometimes it's not a straight route, and sometimes it's not painless. It takes a lot of pain to do that. And so you just sort of, figure it out and set a stake and pull yourself to it.
Well, I love how you mentioned, your past experience, because I think that's, in your journey, you've talked so much about how being an architect, having to be creative, how to learn how to problem solve, prepared you for this journey as an entrepreneur. And it was really that life experience and this business experience that has made you uniquely positioned now.
If you think about entrepreneurialism, what it is at its basic core, the essence of it is problem solving. Okay, so you figure out how to solve a problem. You have an idea, you have a place to go, you have a journey, it's solving that problem. Architecture is not too different. It's, you have clients come to you and say, okay, I want to build a building. And you go, okay, easy, because you instantly put it together in your head. You know the steps, you know the process, everything else, and you have belief in the end product, and therefore you can take yourself through that process. A lot of owners go, oh my gosh, I'm going to build a building and have no clue what to do. And so as an entrepreneur or as an architect or in Blue Spirits, we've been able to kind of break down the problem, break it apart in common parts, solve for the pieces, and then rebuild the pieces into a plan. And you can apply that theory to anything, whether it's food industry or high tech or anything people want to do. If you break it down to the common parts, then you can say, okay, how do I solve for that? And the answer is out there somewhere.
And the answer is out there.
It's always out there.
I love that phrase.
Yeah.
That's going to stick with me, Jeff. And you talked about this problem-solving approach. You also are really trying to integrate that with your staff.
Right.
Your family that you talk about, that you are building a team where you really want to see them be successful. So talk about your kind of perspective as an entrepreneur and working with a team and a growing team.
Well, in fact, we just had a management meeting this morning where this topic was discussed as a critical initiative for us for next year. Because with the advent of our Cashmere facility, we now have all of the bricks and mortar in place to now internalize what we do back to the people and how we're going to do things. And
here's that Cashmere facility.
Yeah. And we've even, if you go in there today, it will be completely different because we've got more things in there. Yeah. And we have a unique opportunity in our business to offer, to provide a unique series of career opportunities. In the next venture that we're launching, we'll have distribution in Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Arizona, Nevada, and Washington State. And we'll need to send people to those markets that know our line, know our product, know our company to talk to a distributor. And what a way to take some of the folks you have, move them into that arena, and send them off to represent our company, represent themselves too. Right. And so our attention is now turning to more to internalize the career development within the folks that we have. Where do you want to be in the company? Do you want to be bottling? Do you want to be tasting room? Do you want to be doing cocktails? Do you want to be doing distilling? Do you want to be doing, all these different activities, ambassadorship on the road? And now we have that, so we can really internalize that with people and say, okay, what do you really want to do within our company, and how can we grow you personally to that respect and benefit from it both ways? And our customers benefit from it because if you have people that understand our process, they can internalize, they can communicate that, and it makes a great experience for the people.
Well, it's obviously a testimony to your continued success that you have a staff you really invest in that time and training and that development process.
Yeah.
So you've already alluded to you're expanding now to 5 states in total for distribution. You've just launched a new facility. When you look 5-10 years down the road, what are you thinking for Blue Spirits? What lies ahead for you, Jeff?
One of the aspects, one of the criteria that I looked at when I built this business was perpetuity, longevity. This is a business that can be perpetual, that has longevity. Many of the labels out of the alcohol brands are 100 years old, 50 years old, 70 years old. They've been around for a long time. So we're building something that can be here for quite a while. And so it's how do we transition that? How do we establish it and grow the brands, grow the name, and continue to produce unique spirits, unique profiles that people find their path to your door?
And you're a builder who builds things for longevity, so I
Right.
love that you've looked
yeah.
at that with this company
Yeah.
you're creating.
That's one underlying aspect to being an architect, is you can always see your products and you know they're going to outlive you.
Right.
You know, and I find it very reassuring. Some
Right.
people may find it not, but you know, it's a manifestation of a thought, of a design, of an idea into reality.
And then you get to see it built to life. Same
Yeah.
thing with Blue Spirits.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to head out, unfortunately, to another commercial break, but folks can find you where? If they want to come try some Blue Spirits.
They can find us in Leavenworth.
Okay.
We're at 920 Front Street, downtown, near the High School Brewing. And we are also out at 1310, across from Dan's Market, across from the Tesla charging stations. So you can get your Tesla charged, and at the same time you have a cocktail. And then now in Cashmere, we're going to start doing some public tours there so that people can kind of see behind the scenes of what we're doing and what it takes to run a distillery.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on all of your
you.
success. Thank you for coming on air. We will be back after the commercial to wrap up, so don't go anywhere. I want to thank you for tuning in today for this episode of GWATA TV. If you did not get a chance to watch the full episode, don't worry. We are available on the NCW Life website or at GWATA.org. To learn more about Blue Spirits, we definitely encourage you to check them out in person at one of their tasting rooms in Leavenworth or Cashmere. Or you can also check out their website and their video featuring their Entrepreneur of the Year win. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Since 1999, GWATA has served as North Central Washington's Tech Alliance. As a 501c3, our mission is to bring people and technology resources together to create a thriving community. Through our work, we aim to inspire, engage, and connect.